Aloha everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would do a part 2 situation going off of my last video, Living with Aphasia. If you haven't already watched it, go check it out. I highly recommend it. So for this video I wanted to talk about aphasia and how it plays a big role in day-to-day struggles with friendships, and going off of my own experiences with that. So growing up, I only had one best friend, and she was lovely, she was great, she was the type of friend that can jam out with me to Justin Bieber and all of those fun things, right? That a normal 10-year-old could do with her friend. But there's the other side of making friendships, right? And all the struggles that come along with making friendships. So because of my aphasia, I never really made the connection to what was going on. If I had a social conflict, I never really connected the dots. If something bad was happening and I didn't know what I did on my part, on my end, and then that lasted all the way from elementary to high school or middle school. That was really hard for me, and it did get better in high school, but I was still getting bullied. And in high school, I had like one or two good friends, and those friends really stuck it out for me, and I'm very grateful for them. But because of my aphasia, I never really made the connection on my part, on my end, because I was like, what the heck is happening? What is going on? I don't know. And then my mom is trying to help me make those connections and help me connect the dots, right? To see what I did on my end and why they were angry with me, why they were frustrated, and why are they acting that way towards me. And even now, even though I'm 25, I still have trouble connecting dots with regarding friendships, because of my aphasia, and I get confused sometimes, and it is really hard, and it really is a struggle on a day-to-day basis. And going back to that friend in elementary school, right? I am very grateful for her because she was really amazing when nobody was there for me. She was there for me when nobody else was. And although we did lose touch, we lost touch after 5th grade ended, and we kind of regained touch when social media became a thing, and I found her. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And then we never lost touch ever since. But with regarding everything that has been going on in my life, or that has been going on in my past experiences, I look back and I'm like, wait, wow, I've come a long way since then, because I think I've grown emotionally, but there are still times where I'm like, wait, wow, that sucked, that hurt, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did on my part, on my end, and there are still people who are mad at me, and that's okay. They don't have to like me, and Um, you know, because growing up, right, and even, you know, going through my own high school experience, my own high school career, you know, and I even touched on this in my last video, Living with Aphasia, where I talked about, you know, there were certain people and certain friends that I had where they told me, like, oh, like, I understand. And when they told me that, when they told me, like, oh, like, I understand what you're going through, I understand your disability, I genuinely believed that. Like, they seemed very genuine until they weren't. You know, whenever I had like a social conflict with them, you know, they turned on me. They were like, we don't want to be your friend. And again, like, I don't know what was going on, and I was confused. I'm like, what did I do to make that happen, for them to be mad at me? And I was like, what the heck, you know? And, you know, when I thought they were being sincere and genuine, and then they weren't, that really hurt. Because I thought they were my friend. I thought they were being kind and all those things. But then for them to turn on me with like from like a drop of a hat, you know, it really did hurt. And so for me, like, I really need to learn how to adapt to that, to those type of situations. And I really needed to learn how to grow in that type of situation. And how can I deal with social situations like that in the future, you know, and dealing with social cues and how to read people. Because in my own past experiences, it was really hard for me to read people because of my aphasia, because of what I went through with regarding my stroke and with regarding to my learning disability as well. And, you know, I definitely felt like like in that moment when I was having that social conflict with those type of people, or those certain people that I was friends with, it was really hard for me to let that friendship go. You know, there was a certain point in time where like I didn't even want to go to school, because like I didn't want to see anybody's face that were coming at me, or that I just didn't want to see their face. So, you know, luckily for me, for the friends that I did have in high school, you know, they really stuck it out for me. And I am still friends with those friends that I did have in high school. I'm still friends with them today. And even though we are in different seasons in our life right now, we still make time for each other. And that's what friendships are all about. Making time for one another, spending time with one another. And, you know, going back to social conflict, you know, I definitely feel like when people show you their true colors, right? believe them. You know, if you have to interact with them in some shape or form, it's okay to be cordial and be nice, because that saying, kill them with kindness, is the best way to go. You know, I definitely feel more confident than I did back when I was in elementary school and middle school, because the girl that I was back then, like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say to people, and I was afraid of saying the wrong things. I mean, even now, I'm afraid of saying the wrong things to people, and I'm like, okay, like, oh shoot, was that the right thing to say at that particular time? And there are times where I can laugh with my friends, and there are times where, like, they didn't even get the joke. Like, in my mind, and I said this in my last video, where, like, in my mind it makes sense, but, like, out loud, like, to certain people, it doesn't make sense. So I had to be very cautious about that. Like, I have to think constantly of what I say to people. Like, are they gonna like what I have to say? Are they gonna like my comment, you know? And there are times, a lot of the time, I just keep my comments to myself, you know, or I share what I need to share with one or two friends, and then the rest, they don't really need to know. I definitely feel like, looking back on all the things that I had to endure in elementary and middle school, and even in high school, I learned a lot from it. And even though, like, I struggle with the same stuff even now, and, you know, I still feel like I don't know what to do sometimes because of my aphasia, and because of my speech slurs, and because of my stroke, and because of my aphasia, I do get confused. And there are times where my friends could be saying something to me, and I thought they were joking, okay? Like, it goes both ways, where I could be joking with them and they didn't get the joke, and they could be joking with me and I didn't even get the joke. So I definitely feel like, with regarding to my aphasia and my own struggles with making friendships, I still struggle with the same stuff that I struggled back then. And I even have to ask my mom, like, oh shoot, what happened? You know, why is this happening? You know, because I truly didn't understand. Because I thought this person was my friend. And it goes back to, when a person shows you their true colors, you gotta believe it. And you can be cordial, you can be nice, but it all boils down to, maybe, you know, you guys are just growing apart, or, you know, you guys are in both different seasons in your life, and that's why you guys are not spending enough time with each other. And like I said, you know, spending time with your friends is really important, and making time with your friends is really important as well. And for me, reading body language was really hard. I've gotten better at it, but there are times where I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't read her facial expressions. I didn't read their facial expressions, you know? I didn't know what that facial expression meant towards me. So sometimes it gets really hard for me to connect the dots because of it. And I definitely feel like because of it, right? Because of it, I still struggle with social cues, even. Although I've gotten better at it, I still struggle with social cues and body language and all those things. Because of my aphasia, like, I really struggle with reading body language and reading people's facial expressions. And sometimes I feel like aphasia can get in the way of a really great friendship, you know? Or like aphasia, like if like you try to say something to someone and then they get offended and you really didn't mean it to come off that way, then, you know, they can hold a grudge. If you have aphasia, if you don't have aphasia, like, honestly, I feel like aphasia within itself can be like a total obstacle. And like for me, like sometimes I get really frustrated because of my aphasia. And I'm like, oh shoot, like I wish I didn't have an aphasia moment like at that time, because like, you know, like when you have an aphasia moment, like it just didn't need to be there. And I feel like when you have those little tad bits of aphasia moments and it just gets in the way, and you're like, I wish I didn't have that. I wish I didn't have aphasia within that time, at that time, because like now you're like, oh shoot, I wish I didn't say that. Like you have like a 5-second delay. Like, oh shoot, did I really just say that? And you didn't realize what you said at that moment, at that time, to that person. But then they're offended and you didn't mean it to come off that way. But aphasia and friendships, they don't mix sometimes, or, you know, they don't mix a lot of the time. You know, you just have to be cautious of what you say to people. And if they do get offended, you know, say you're sorry, like, oh, sorry, shoot, I didn't mean it that way. Because, you know, aphasia is what it is. And, you know, there really is no cure for aphasia. But if you take care of yourself and, you know, if you put your mind to work, meaning like if you do like little self-care for your brain, and if you work hard, maybe read or like do puzzles. My cousin-in-law said like puzzling is really good. I used to do puzzles growing up. and you know, then your aphasia will get better in time. But yeah, those are my main struggles with aphasia and friendships, and how, you know, it affected my life and my past experiences growing up. Um, if you had similar struggles, leave it in the comment section down below, and know that you are beautifully and fearfully and wonderfully made. This is it for today's video. Have a blessed and wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.